game. Good morning, or afternoon, or whatever the fuck it is. Man, today is the day, huh? Let me give a shout out to Kristen. Good to see you. Ken, what's up? Gobbles, the beautiful Gobbles. Upgrade. He says stick up entertainment. John, Dylan. Brian, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on, guys? It is July 2nd. It is the season finale of the Bryan Kohberger arc. Brian says, can you believe so many people believe he is innocent? I don't understand. I genuinely think they're all retarded. Like, these are the type of people, like I said yesterday, that their husband or wife could come home and say, I cheated on you. You got to show me the proof. No, I don't need to see the proof. Full July festive gear. Yes, right. What's up, dope soul? Exactly, Upgrade. What's going on, brother? Billy Magnum. What's going on? Florencia. Alicia, how you doing? Toronto Swede. Larry of Arc. Brian. He said, what is it going to take to convince these people? Bryan Kohberger could come up on, in front of the court today and say, I did it. Here's how I did it. Here's why I did it. And these motherfuckers still won't believe it. Because in order to believe it, you have to say, okay, my previous take on the case is wrong. What's up, Descendant? Hope you're doing good. Dylan says, and it's always 19% in these polls. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And they say the same thing. Their answer is the same thing. They say, what? Innocent people don't plead guilty? How many cases in a row are you going to say it, though? You got to realize these are the same people. It's ready, so whenever it starts, we'll see it. These same people are the same people that said the Delphi case, his confession wasn't real. What's going on, Ken? After realizing you changed your mind, props to you. Yeah, man, it's the scientific method, right, Ken? You know, whenever new information exists, you're supposed to base your theory or opinion based on the current information. Brian says some people do take pleas that are innocent. Absolutely. However, show me one person, innocent or guilty, that took life, no parole, no appeal, anytime. Exactly. He should have got a paid lawyer, in my opinion. Of course. Don't commit crimes if you're broke. It's wild. What's up, CJ? What happened to the green car? They're not talking about the green car anymore. Ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? So I was over in Harsh's chat, and I just asked him. I said, also think they want to get it over with? No, nobody is going to go to prison for life just to get it over with. So I asked Harsh, I said, if Bryan Kohberger comes out here today and says, I did it, will that be enough for you? The whole chat is like, get out of here, JB. All of a sudden they turned on me and shit. It's crazy to be so connected to an opinion that you hate people that don't share that opinion even after they were proved right. He's beyond retarded for taking plea. Thought he was small. He's done. He's done, Chloe. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the losers. Exactly. Agreed. Why they didn't continue it, I'm saying. Let me say this, because a lot of people are asking, why all of a sudden did they take a plea? In every case, criminal and civil, negotiations, plea bargains, deals are always right before it's time. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you get arrested and the minute you're indicted, they offer you a plea. Usually a plea bargain comes in the final pretrial conference or even the day of the trial. The reason states do that is so they don't have to pay for a lengthy, expensive trial or the appeals. I used to think he was innocent too, but there's zero chance he would take this plea being innocent? Absolutely not. Well, and I guess that would be my question to any of you. Would you take a plea bargain and spend the rest of your life in prison at the age of 30 years old if you didn't do something? Saw you advertising snack cakes on sale in Harsh's chat. Yeah, I was over there trying to make a buck. I was over there trying to make a buck, man. I mean, you know, speaking of buck, let me give a shout out to Texas Gigi. Thank you, beautiful. She hit the tip jar of $42.56 to get this thing started. If he had no involvement, he wouldn't take the plea. Exactly. Nobody in their right fucking mind would sign a plea bargain that puts you in prison forever with no ability to appeal. You'd have to be, this is either the most unlucky guy or the dumbest murderer in history. Turns out he was pretty dumb. Exactly, Dewdrop. Exactly. Only a moron would take a plea for 4 murders if they were innocent. Yeah. And everybody's over there acting like it's 4D chess. They're like, this is a secret plan of Ann Taylor. What they're going to do is try to expose the corruption in the Idaho courts by pleading guilty and saying that the Idaho courts is right. That's a fucked up strategy. We're going to expose the system by saying that the system was right. That's the dumbest goddamn strategy I've ever heard. I took a plea right before trial. They made it a small fine. I had to say, yeah, everybody does, man. You decide whether you want to go through with it. At this moment, Bryan Kohberger was like, am I going to risk this? And you would risk it if you was innocent. For sure. Where are those 19% at? He'll never show it. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. We got activity. We got some activity. It says court will resume shortly. I'll wait till it resumes, but we got it. It's coming. It is coming. I think we got 7 minutes, though. So people saying stupid fucking stuff that like there's no way Bryan is going under. Oh, yeah, that's another thing they said. He's an undercover. He's working for the feds. So Bryan Kohberger is going to take a plea bargain for the feds, they say. Some people are even saying that he is taking a plea deal for his family, not to testify, I mean. Why? It makes no sense. If he didn't do it, listen, if I didn't do something, my parents would be running, or maybe not my parents, the parents would easily fly out there to testify. They wouldn't give a shit. Nobody takes life sentence so their parents don't have to talk. You see what I'm saying? Just think that thing through. Just think that entire strategy through. I'm taking a life sentence so my parents don't have to talk. Hey, my boy Bryan sent 20. He said, great analysis. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, Bryan. Very much so. Very much so. Thank you, Bryan. He's 2 years older than me, like you said, JB. Ain't no innocent person my age bracket gonna literally throw away the rest of their life. Exactly. Yeah, the Kohberger derangement syndrome is real. Yeah, that only makes sense if he's guilty. He doesn't want them to have to testify against him. Exactly. Because if he told them, thank you so much, by the way, Bryan. If he told them that he'd done it and they didn't speak up, which I don't think Bryan Kohberger told his parents that he did it. That would be stupid. Think about all the shit you did in your life that you didn't tell your parents you did. We're talking about little shit. We're talking about, little shit. Ain't nobody telling their parents if they murdered someone. Upgrades in here. Jimmy is right to fuck on Amazon order he made his oats. Yeah, it was a red flag completely. Gobble said one of them that really cracked me up is he is going into witness protection and that's why he's pleading guilty so they can hide him. Yes, that is funny, Gobbles. I was talking about the knife and his sister calling in the tip. Yeah. I mean, I believe I believe, if you want to know what I think, I believe he knows he's had, and he said, well, I guess I can just live the rest of my life in prison. You see what I'm saying? Like, because when you're facing death, That's a scary thing. A lot of us say, I'd rather die than live the rest of my life in prison. When you are right there, though, knowing that death row is probably 20, 30 years, you're probably going to take, you know what I mean? It depends. It depends on how you are and how much you fear the death penalty. Me, personally, as much as I hate prison, of course I'd rather live in prison for 30 years than die. You know what I'm saying? I'd 40, 50 years than die. Because at least then I can still watch Raw and shit, Monday Night Raw and jack off and shit like that. Give me a girlfriend or a little pen pal girlfriend. An innocent person on death row would have 10 years at least for new evidence and appeals. Yeah, I would have took it all the way to trial. I would have took it all the way to trial. No question. No question. You sign plea bargains when it's some bullshit. You're like, fuck, I just don't want to, I just want to get this probation over with, or you've got time served, and, you're going to get out, The worst alibi ever? Yeah, no, I can't even believe that shit. He did all that. Listen, I listened to the interview with his professor from Pennsylvania. She's shocked. She's shocked that he took his phone. She's shocked at the alibi. It literally is the worst alibi in the history of alibis. I was driving around, phone off, stargazing. He didn't even say he was stargazing. I sometimes stargaze. Well, were you stargazing that night? No answer. A few of these pro BK creators totally losing it. It's fun. Watching them flip out. Yes, the beautiful Irene is joining us. How you doing, beautiful? I just wanted to hear Cy Ray try to prove he wasn't there 24 times. Oh, that would have been good. Yeah, that would have been good. We're waiting on it. We are waiting on it, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, I'll make it bigger once it starts. That's what she said. Yeah. But, yeah, man. I hope we get a show today. I hope Bryan Kohberger comes out in full BTK mode. I thought the motherfucker better. Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's shocked. I thought this little motherfucker better. I hope he comes out in full BTK mode and starts preaching, starts telling the entire story. That is the absolute best thing we can get today. As if Bryan Kohberger is like, what I'd like to have right now is a time to speak to the court. I want him to do that. And then just, bam, give us a 3, 4, 5 hour tale. Nothing about this case makes sense. I think a lot of it makes sense, actually, when you look at it in its simplest form. You know what I mean? When you look at it in its simplest form, you got a criminology student into serial killers. He wanted to, the urge to do it happened. He acted on that urge, and he wasn't as smart as he thought he was. The dummy took his phone with him and the knife sheath. Who the fuck holds the knife sheath? Hi, JB. Knew he was guilty. There you go, Chan. Congratulations. Hope you're doing well, beautiful. It makes sense when you're rational about it. Yeah, when you use Occam's razor and you break it down to its simplest forms, it actually makes a lot of sense. What's up, Jessica? How about someone lunging at him in the courtroom? That would be pretty entertaining. But I would rather have, or Steve Gonsalves try to rush him and Bryan Kohberger throws the hands on him and whoops him in the middle of court. JB, he's not even top 10, right? Nah. You talking about the Kohberger thing? Nah. Steve left. He left up there? He didn't go? Caught his car on camera in many locations? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Bryan Kohberger, if you ask me, he probably was going to try to become a serial killer. And it just didn't work out. He's just not as smart as he thought he was. It's not easy to get away with murder, especially today. If it was easy to get away with murder, there'd be a lot of motherfuckers gone right now. I miss you, JB. Sorry I've been on a rough couple of months. Haven't gotten on social media in a while. That's all right, Lauren. I hope you've been well, beautiful. Said I haven't forgotten about you. I haven't forgotten about you. He walked in and then left. He did an interview and then left. Oh, man, that's wild. That was some Michael Myers shit, but he was dumb? Yeah. He could have kept it going. Look. I'm going to say things that's going to piss a lot of people off. Because I'm not like an advocate or activist. I follow these cases because I watch horror movies. I like evil. I like horror movies. So a lot of people, they're like, oh, I hate Bryan Kohberger. I'm just like, shit. You could have been a little bit more entertaining with this shit, Bryan. I mean, this is one of the biggest, he is stupid as fuck. Exactly. He might have ended people before. Now that, what's up, Papa Roger? That would be an interesting, wish he had a belt, yes. That would be probably the most interesting thing that could happen. As if we find out, like with the big dude up in New York. If we find out Bryan Kohberger's got bodies buried all over Pennsylvania, that shit would be a good one. Should be on Max in October. Is the Freddy series, his new Freddy series? Oh man, I'm on it. He told Kohberger's dad that he knows when he booked his flight to go get Bryan from Washington. It was the day after his sister tipped him to the FBI. Wow. What's up, Texas? Let me give a shout out to the beautiful Lauren who sent 20. Thank you so much, beautiful. Thank you, Lauren. I wonder if he will reveal others involved. If there is others involved, I think he will. Oh, Papa Roger, you better hide somewhere. I see you out there, brother. Don't get caught up in this case. Thought he learned more in crime class, almost a doctor and still. Yeah, how the fuck you go? And that tells you right there. What's up, Gigi? The beautiful Gigi. Thank you, by the way, for earlier. We're waiting on this thing to start, and then I'll get everything going. Fireworks outside the courthouse all morning. Yeah. Did you share my message? I have not yet. But I will right now. Gigi, let's get this done before we get started. Gigi said, to your snack cakers, I want to say that I myself thought with all the convoluted things happening around the case, of course, that there was more than just Bryan Kohberger involved. However, I'm willing to admit that there may have been some emotions playing into that, emotions, but more like past experiences shading what I did and didn't look at maybe. But I'm a big girl, and I have no pony in the race. So if he signs a plea and admits that he did this, then he did this. Case over, done. And I'll never give him another thought after he is sentenced to life forever. If you can't do that, and the conspiracy continues to consume your life, get a job. I agree with her. I always want to look at the bright side, so what I will say is that if nothing else happened here, we all saw the blatant crap and lies by law enforcement, and the families are hot with them too. But there are some things happening at enforcement level, on judicial level, in the state of Idaho that need to be seriously looked at, and there's a slight chance the FBI did some things that, if allowed to stay, might impact us all at some point in time. I agree with that completely. No question that law enforcement still needs to be critiqued. Go in peace, snack cakers. If he signs it, it is done. Go advocate for better victims' rights and services in that weird-ass state. Now check out Cash App. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gigi. And you're right. 100% right. They're a little late here, but they got the thing going. I think the incompetent, you're exactly right, Gigi. Brian says, I think the incompetence of Bad Santa and Elfie Jennings raised questions. So it did raise questions. Yeah, I think, Gigi said go in peace, yeah. Two things can be right at the same time. Law enforcement and the FBI could be doing shady shit, and Kohberger can still be the killer. I don't believe for 1 second that the FBI didn't illegally, or I don't know if the illegally is the right word, immorally. I don't believe for a second that he did not immorally and maybe even illegally grab Bryan Kohberger's DNA or get the DNA of his family or however it is. I believe they use databases they're not supposed to use, and I think that's something that truly happened. But in the end, if their illegal or immoral method caught Bryan Kohberger, it is what it is. Don't be surprised if he fires his attorneys and pleads not guilty. That would be interesting, Jenks. That would be interesting. His wanting to know how all this felt, his not feeling, I kind of think he planned it all to go this way. That could be possible. Then he gets to tell his story on his term and how he feels it. Yeah. Plea deals bill is weak. Thought he dropped the balls on this case, but apparently not. Yeah. Sloan said that was back in 1996. Oh, I believe there's a lot of lies told and a lot of shit shoved under the rug. I read an article the other day about Bill Thompson doing the same shit. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely possible. All of that could be possible, and Kohberger could. Look, if Kohberger admits it out of his mouth today, which he's going to, I did this, or signs his name to this plea bargain and says, I did this, no matter how goofy Idaho is, the state, the police, the feds, Kohberger did this. Lauren says, yes, there's corruption in law enforcement. Look at what they did to Karen Reed. Yeah, it does happen, but not every case. I'm a back the blue person, but still don't want corrupt cops, exactly. CB said, I wanted to think he can't make it so obvious mistakes with years of study, but training doesn't mean good performance. No. I've had a lot of pussy, and I still fail sometimes. Sorry, lady. Sorry. I'll do better next time. This last time BT ran unopposed in an election, yeah. I think he wants to tell his bullshit story, and I'm here for it. I hope he does it today. I don't think he's going to. I hope Bryan Kohberger stands up today and tells us all what happened. I do think we'll get victim statements today. I do think we'll get some victim impact statements today. I'm still waiting on it, by the way. Hold on, let me reload it just to make sure. Yeah, I'm just making sure. Death penalty scared him for sure? Yeah, it'd scare me too if I did it. I'd be scared as fuck too. And I think that's really what it all boils down to. Is that, he got scared of the potential, of the possible punishment he could receive. Paige says, for those saying they can't understand this, it all comes down to money. Idaho's been complaining about the cost of the case since day one. Exactly. It's a very small, I agree, it's 100% right, Paige. The state doesn't want to spend the money. At the end of the day, they took a killer off the street. They did their job. I am pro-death penalty, but it's not like he has to be killed. You know what I mean? Taking him off the street with no possibility of parole. I think it's a understandable deal. I don't think he's going to tell us today. No, I think he's going to wait and do the study. Yeah, he's going to work with the professor lady and do like a study. Lauren said if he's on death row, he doesn't have much freedom as a regular prisoner. Exactly. Captain Jenks says once Kohberger starts speaking in public, he probably won't shut up. I agree. Don't promise him pussy you never, says 70. His goose was cooked. He's deviant and loose. What's up, CJ? He doesn't want the state telling him his story, that he is Buffalo Bill tucking his... I can't wait to read his book to see what really happened and why. He's definitely going to write a book, man. I believe so 100%, especially if he's OCD. He's going to want his story out. Because you got to think there's a million things he could have a problem with. He may not want people thinking he's retarded. You got to remember, everybody was like, oh, he's autistic. He's a retard. No, he's an incel. He may be like, no. And here's the thing. If he's on death row for the next 30 years and he's appealing shit, he can't tell us. He may be like, no. I'm not going to let everybody think I'm a tard. You know what I mean? So he might be signing this to get the fucking truth out. Yeah, the firing squad does sound awful. Think it was a study for him. Jessica says, do you think we will ever know the truth about what happened and why? Do you think BK will tell where the murder weapon is? Yeah, I do think so. I think 100% we will know how and why. But I think 100% it'll come out of Bryan Kohberger's mouth. And I don't think it'll be today. I think it will be in some sort of book or movie deal. Let me explain to you what I'm saying, because I know a lot of you are going to say, you can't make money off of your crimes. That's in states that has what's called the Son of Sam laws. I missed the Snack Caker song. Yeah, I redid my computer. I got it somewhere on a hard drive. Don't promise the cakes if you're not going to deliver. Yes. Yeah, he wants fame. I think ultimately he will tell us himself what happened. But for the people that saying, well, he can't make a penny from it, actually, That's not true. That's in states where there's a son of Sam law. So I just want you guys to understand that not all criminals or convicts can't make money off the crime. He now has first-hand knowledge of planning, doing the crime, the process, going through, everything, and he didn't want to die, so he takes the plea. Yeah, exactly. Now he can tell it. What's up, Trisha? How you doing, beautiful? I thought they would only use the firing squad if they could not source the needed in jail. I'm not going to lie to you. I'd rather take the firing squad than the chemical. There's something about that chemical that scares me. That lethal injection shit scares me. That's why I've never done drugs and shit like that. You know, I'm not scared of needles, but any needle putting some substance in me. Ugh. But will the proceeds go to the family? No, not. I mean, if they sue Bryan Kohberger, yes. If they'd have to sue Bryan Kohberger and win a civil case, but not automatically because there's no son of Sam laws. Let me see if I can show you what son of Sam laws is. Google. Son of Sam law. Yeah. Son of Sam laws are statutes designed to prevent criminals from profiting from the commercial exploitation of their crimes, typically by selling stories or other media related to their crimes. Let's see, what states is it in? I had to Google that. Let's see if Idaho is. Yeah. Let's see. Idaho, like many other states, has a son of... Okay, I was wrong. They do have a son of Sam law. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. Idaho does have a son of Sam law. So scratch everything I just said. Idaho does have a son of Sam law, so Bryan Kohberger won't be able to profit. So Bryan Kohberger will not be able to profit. I think it's coming. So I apologize for being incorrect on that. No problem, Vesta. I apologize for being incorrect on that. Brian sent another 20. Holy shit. Let me click on this. Manson artwork made big money. Just pro burgers wouldn't believe Google. No, there's a lot of shit they don't look up. They don't look a lot of shit up. We got this whole big boxing machine in front of us with all this information. And they want to, like literally, they want to believe just some YouTuber telling them that the car is green. And even though I'm a YouTuber, you should never just believe me. That's why I show articles. Trisha, I wouldn't be confused about it because in any criminal or civil case, what's up 12 gauge, all deals and negotiations happens at the end before trial. Like you don't get arrested and they hand you a plea bargain, Trisha. Usually it's the final pre-trial conference or even the day of the trial. What about the tunnels, JB? Yeah, the green car when Batista's in the tunnels. Brian said, I agree with you, JB. Oh. So BK will tell his story because he wants some credit. I'll read this in a second, Brian. Let's get this thing going. Look at BK. He's got a fresh haircut. Look at him go. Look at BK go. This is a different courtroom, too. It feels like it. Let's go. You guys can see everything correct? Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll make this bigger, a little bit bigger. I'm gonna make it big again and then move this up.
All right, this is CR 0124316665.
Does that look better?
Defendant is present in custody with counsel, Ms.
Yeah, we're good.
Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr.
Yeah.
Thompson, Mr.
Can you hear it well enough?
Ms. Jennings.
Let me make it louder. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear it, but I'll still.
Mr. Nye is here as well.
I'll still raise the volume as much as I can.
Miss Allen is here as well.
Ms.
Your
Allen
Honor.
is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues
There we go.
of
All right.
concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case.
That's that one.
This has
lesbian
been
chick.
extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to
He has a bulletproof vest on. Yeah.
have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have
Yep,
their
she's lost
cases
it, yeah.
processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in
Good.
making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases.
He's talking to all the snack
Court
cakers
should,
right now.
and I always will make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period.
Talking to them snack
I have
cakers.
not read any of the numerous messages, nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement.
Oh, shit. Truth
I
and
ask that
transparency,
you not
girl.
continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information
Damn.
like this, because, again, it is not appropriate and frankly not something I would take into
Actually, I
account.
don't think she did. I don't think she went live.
When deciding a matter
this
in a
judge,
case
too.
like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, and what the court's duties are,
Man.
and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue,
Yeah, exactly, Gobbles.
including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty,
It's all snack
nor
cake.
would it be
Yeah.
appropriate for this court to attempt to do that.
Exactly, Texas.
This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently.
That's right.
If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance. If I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July,
10,000.
with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this, getting this trial potentially underway on time.
Agreed.
And including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or if for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly, and so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted.
I'm gonna go
during the
smoke.
hearing.
I'll be right back. They can't leave. Shit.
Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom you, many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing. Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another.
It's really happening.
Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35.
This will end the whole thing.
This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing.
Yeah, you can go to.
The
hold on.
stipulated agreement.
Shelley, yeah, you can. You can go to the actual courtrooms channel instead of going to a YouTuber's channel. You ever try that, bitch? You ever tried that before? You know that the Idaho courts has an actual YouTube channel. You can actually go there and watch it instead of watching a YouTuber show you the shit. Now you can go there, bitch.
All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counteroffers and answered his questions about those?
Yes,
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not given before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Kohberg, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the
Yes, Gobbles.
sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right? Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed substantive questions? Let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include, on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000, and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime.
Agreed.
To be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
Burglary isn't about stealing.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
Woo!
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
Done deal.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Woo! That's it.
And counsel, obviously, there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Innocent people don't do that.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
It's over.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case should you not plead guilty. Did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Agreed,
Yes.
Brian. Agreed.
You understand you would have a privilege against
Exactly,
self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right.
Exactly, Denny. Exactly, Sloan.
So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count two, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. As to count three, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count four, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count 5, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
Damn! Damn! It's over. Yeah.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form
Probably
a
Paige.
document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
That green card, man.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road?
Here we go.
In Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
He's happy. He
And then
sounds.
on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County,
Exactly,
Idaho,
Paige.
did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide
Exactly,
its
Ranger.
recitation of its factual
His
basis.
chest is
had
out. He's
this
saying
case
it.
gone to trial.
He's saying it with his
Thank you, Your Honor.
chest.
Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents.
Here we go.
The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing at his parents' residence or residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times.
Exactly.
In the interim, On August 22nd of 2022, Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Bryan Kohberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include at trial video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway just across the state line from Moscow. It would show a vehicle
That echoes on their end.
defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defendant's car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence.
Here we
which is the
go.
side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kayla Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason,
Here we go.
ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body.
Dummy.
And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single-source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. It's important to note single-source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath.
Gobbles.
The state's evidence would show that
Hold on just a second.
Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor. It was on the second floor on the west side.
No, Sloan, he did it. He did it.
As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20
Exactly,
that
Brian.
morning, so So this would have been 15 minutes or so later. Defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in a very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks it heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning.
Maybe
Later
Texas.
that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up.
Kohberger is
Defendant's phone
cold,
then
man.
went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman.
It is over.
And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th of 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath.
So I need another one. Give me another
He
one.
believes to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate.
Exactly, Brian. Thank you, Gobbles.
Mr. Kohberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Kohberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the
David.
parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court, in public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered.
Shit!
I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value
Nothing.
was found.
That
And of course,
motherfucker.
we're now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally.
Damn.
It also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. You can try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. His car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury
Fuck.
that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks.
No,
as
Amy.
It is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me,
Occam's razor.
Mr. Kohberger entered the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho.
Exactly,
He
God.
did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Santa Cruz. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Woo! Shit! Thank you, Gobbles. Thank you, David. David said, man, crazy shit. He sent in 50.
All right. Based on
Gobbles.
the state's proffer and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Shit. Shit. But he still didn't do it, of
We'll
course.
find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. Court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered.
There you
I'll
go.
continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
There you
Yes, Your
go.
Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does not believe pre-sentence investigation.
Told
is needed,
y'all.
Given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely. And certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties, or the next week, the week of August 4, is available. Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
He's ready to
The
get
state, I
the,
believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So
told you he was going in
because
July.
of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen.
Man.
Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right. Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
No, sir.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
Your Honor, I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing. So
Oh,
we
man.
have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
Ah, man.
Would have no objection for the order to remain in place through
All right,
sentencing.
I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn
Still, okay.
in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said. Obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant.
No.
Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence.
Fucking gag
In fact,
order
now the
stays.
actual conviction for the crimes.
For now.
He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated.
trial
and those
is-
court orders will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive
Oh,
their
man.
summons that they'll be required to
Oh,
attend.
man.
So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned.
So,
All right, please.
the gag order is, okay, so the gag, okay, well, I can move this now. So, all right. So where's my goddamn chat? I told, everybody was arguing with me saying it's going to be weeks and months. And I said, no, he's going to prison in July. And now, as we see, he's going to prison in July. I told everybody that they would not do the pre-sentence investigation because they already know what the fuck's going on. So, what we have, you heard it, sentencing, you heard the story from the prosecution. It's pretty much everything that we'd heard already anyway. The gag order will be lifted on the 22nd, or 23rd, so we have 10 days, 21 days until the gag order is lifted, so we're not going to have any information until then. I will do the sentencing live, and then we will close out the case. There's going to be a lot of people tripping, a lot of people crying. I'm very interested to see everybody whining and crying. I don't believe in the death penalty except in cases like this. Yeah, of course there should have been. But I mean, the state wanted to get the conviction. 3 weeks, we'll know more. Absolutely. I do want to say thank you to David. He sent 50. He said, man, crazy shit. Absolutely. Gobbles. She said she can't wait to see the snack cakers now. She sent 75. My boy Brian, like I said, sent 20. You guys are awesome. Dang, I would have rather had a firing squad than to sit the rest of my life in prison. Depends on, you know. It's really strange to me. Like, part of me feels the exact same way, but then also, hold on, man, let me put this here. I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, knowing that you could die or you can still have, 70, 80 years left on this planet. Yeah, for such a violent murderer, he is a coward. He is a coward, but at least at the end, it didn't cost the taxpayers a bunch of money. He admitted his guilt. It depends on how scared to death you are, yeah. He admitted his guilt, and in my opinion, he's not going to last 5 years. Everything being unsealed after sentencing, yes. So, after sentencing, we'll get to know what's going on. But in my opinion, this case, everybody saying this case ended anticlimactic. Listen, the guy that killed the kids is going to prison for the rest of his life with no chance of ever getting out. How can that not be the perfect end to this? Going to trial means you risk, if he's the one that did it, which he clearly is, going to trial, you risk him getting out. You risk somebody like me in the jury, or someone like Harsh or someone like anybody, I don't think he's still dead. I want you to understand how crazy that is. There are people here right now that still don't believe he did it. I'll show you right now. Let's take a look at this. Poll. 22% of the people in this chat room are fucking retarded. Do you see this? 22%, 21% of the people literally watching this stream right now openly admit that they're fucking retarded. And if that doesn't tell you how dangerous trial can be, I don't know what to tell you. So this is the perfect ending. Everybody admitted that they were retarded. That's retarded. Bryan Kohberger admitted he killed the people. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. All those grifting YouTubers are now going to fall off of YouTube because they don't know how to do anything else. Whereas I will continue making videos. I will continue streaming every day over on my other channels. And I'm even going to make videos here. Idaho definitely wanted no part of this case. No, they just wanted, no. They want to get the shit over with. We could have learned why he did it. Yeah, it's not any of our business, unfortunately. It's not, Bryan Kohberger can take that with him to his death. Bryan Kohberger doesn't have to tell us shit. Did he do it? He said, yes. Yeah, I did it. He said, we are staying here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We will definitely be doing more stories over here. They didn't have a lot, not enough that I would have pleaded guilty. I would have fought for my freedom. I would have too. Yeah, there wasn't a lot. It was all circumstantial evidence. And as you see, Guys, I want you to rewind time back to the beginning of this case. What's the one thing I told you guys? Remember when I was a pro burger? Everybody's like, you don't know what they got. There's going to be so much evidence that comes out at trial. What did I tell you guys back then? I said, no, we already know 85 to 95% of the evidence. Guys, here we are 3 years later. Was I wrong? Was there any popping new evidence that we heard other than the knife was purchased on Amazon? We just heard. We literally just heard them. I told you. Oh, okay, touch DNA is unreliable? No. I told you that every piece of evidence, for the most part, that's in this case, we got in the PCA. So did we decide if he was Papa Rogers? Nah, I've never really looked into that. I never really was a big Papa Rogers guy. I think I did 1 or 2 videos on it. You got it. No new evidence. No, they didn't do nothing. Basically, going all the way back then, when I said there's not going to be much new evidence, everybody was like, no, you don't understand, JB, what they got. You know how many trials I've been in? The PCA is always pretty much 90% of what they got. So, I thought I heard the 4 lives could come down to 10 each. No, it's not. It can't. It's not budgeable. He has 4 life sentences, natural life sentences. He'll never get out. The 10 years that you're talking about is the burglary. Santa Claus was the head prosecutor. No wonder. That's right. That's right. So I do want to say to everybody, thank you guys for being here. This has been a wonderful case. I've met so many new friends from this case. Seriously, there's a lot of good people that's in my life as a friend, on my other channels, my politics channel, a lot of that. And I met a lot of them over here. So this case did a lot for me as well. It was a wonderful case, so to speak. Met a lot of you guys. This channel will continue after this case. I will be doing all crime over here. They're already questioning the premeditation killing of these, and of course they are. Do you think he entered the house only targeting Maddie? I believe he was targeting somebody on the third. Yes, Maddie, because he wouldn't have known Kaylee was there. So he went up thinking he was going to kill Maddie, and then shit turned to mayhem. You know what I mean? It's a matter of deciding how long it takes to form premeditate. Yeah, exactly. No, I think he said to himself, if I see any motherfucker, I'm going to kill him. Yeah. I will not be leaving this channel. I will be continuing to do cases. I think I'm going to get into the New York Gilgo or whatever, the Gilgo Beach Killer a little bit more. I'll do a video on that because we got his, I don't know, maybe not. I found your channels with this case? Yeah, thank you so much. He really did snap. Yeah, I mean, it's clear. Gobble said, I was shocked. I thought there would have been a smoking gun, something that would have pushed him to plead guilty. Him doing that? Yeah, he's sick. Yeah, clearly he's sick. Thanks for sharing, JB. Absolutely. This isn't our last trial. Once again, I thank all of you that found me during this case. I know I talk a lot of shit. I go back and forth, but I do appreciate and love every last one of you. Thank you guys so much. To the snack cakers, they can go fuck themselves. Because I don't want them to hang around retarded people. I don't want to be around retarded people. Idaho 4 made me find your channel, and then the others, thank you. Same JB, I found you during this case and still watch you almost daily on all channels. Thank you, Cashley. All jokes aside, thank you, Jenks. All jokes aside, man, I think at this point, even if you believed Upgrade, Bryan Kohberger was innocent. You just heard it out of his mouth. Bryan Kohberger today said, I murdered these motherfuckers. If that's not enough for you, I don't know what is. You guys don't leave us. We will be back. We will indeed be back. With the name Gobbles, I would think you're a snack. Oh, I know. She gobbles in other ways. I've been trying to get her to do some gobbling for years now. I'm not leaving. You're all stuck with me. Absolutely, guys. I love you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get up off here. JB, they're just as throw it off as BK is. Bunch of it. Yeah. Lauren says, Lauren says, what the name? Oh, that was a different one. Where did Lauren's comment go? Oh, amazing, JB, as always. Hanging around retarded people can make you retarded too. Yeah, I'm kind of immune to retardation. Because the minute they get too retarded, I just drink a fifth and then I'm retarded too. And then next day I sober up and I'm no longer retarded. Have a good one, Texas. Guys, I'll see you in the next video. You'll see me before the July 22nd. I'll start a new story, or I'll just start doing all kinds of crimes over here. Trust me, I live in the United States of America. We have a shitload of crimes each and every day. So, we love you, Gobbles. You're super cool. Oh, yeah. Loved your Uyghur Chronicles. Oh, that was fun shit. That was fun shit. That was good shit. Anyways, love you guys, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bryan Kohberger, officially guilty. Now watch all the snack cakers cry their ass off. This has been a blast.